That's right. Here we go, Joe. Here we go, Joe. So
Yeah.
what's the scenario?
Oh, keep it going. Keep it going.
It's before your time, sir.
Oh, I thought you were, what's it called? Not when
BJ,
you, yeah.
Tribe Called Quest. Google
Oh,
them.
no, I know a few of their songs.
Okay.
I thought you were just spitting out the rhymes off the top of your head,
No, no, no. Not tonight. What's up,
Well,
everybody? It's Friday night. It's the Lone Gunman Podcast. It's episode number 394. And this is part 3 of Did He Go to Mexico? Was Oswald in Mexico? We're going to take a look at some more key players in the scenario this evening. Some interesting figures that hopefully can help us shed a little light and help us answer that question, Joe. Did
yeah,
he effing go or what?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you're forcing me to give an answer. I'm going to save it to the end.
Yes, if Joe sits on that fifth night, I'm gonna knock his ass off one way or the other.
Okay, half spoiler alert. I am not going to.
Okay,
I
the show will not end until Joe lands on one side or the other.
Yeah. Well, south to west, I just had his comment highlighted and accidentally took it off. Gets the gold again, racking up more golds than USA Hockey.
Amen.
Mr. Jack Taylor with the silver, and Mr. Derek Schwindeman.
Mr. Schwindeman, what's up,
I, I
Derek?
s- I said it right. He owes me a
You
super
said
chat.
it right.
He owes me a super chat. No, I'm just kidding. Mr. Trey, what's up, buddy?
Trey.
Uh,
Shaking
Mr.
your maracas.
Mike, the library man. I'll check in as soon as I can. Oldest boy's birthday. Well, family always comes first.
Yes.
We respect the replay crew
Happy
as much.
birthday to the boy.
Yeah, yeah. Hope you have a nice time. Zandar,
Hello,
howdy. Uh,
Zendar.
Claude and Aunt Udine. Aunt Udine says that she is back and wishing all of her friends a good evening and drink more Lone Stars.
Yes.
Uh,
You keep hiking that mini skirt up, Aunt Udine, and I'll keep drinking Lone Stars.
and,
Eventually, we'll get there.
and the T Biz is up in the house. What's
Hey,
up, T Biz?
busy.
TFIF.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Thank fuck it's Friday.
Okay. I was wondering if it was a typo or not, but all good.
Oh, no, that's not a typo. That's a declaration of independence, baby.
I respect it. Evening, everyone. Mr. Owen Smith, how are you, sir?
Owen,
And of course, the double B. What up,
the
Brandon?
double baby.
Happy Friday. Hopefully, your Friday is going well. Mr. Jason Selman, hello from Canada. Long time no see. Missed you guys.
And Brandon, no more sending me Brokeback Mountain text, dude. I think you meant to send that one to Joe.
But
Y'all see Joe in a cowboy hat?
I wear one. I think I'd look good in it. Um, and speaking of Canada, Canada, um, I have some good news and some bad news in regards to the archives visit update. Mr. Paul Blow is going to be joining us. Is that the good or the bad news, Robert? Bad news is my advance requests were denied.
Oh.
So I have to now go back over this weekend and.
Well, you and Paul can sit there with your D's in your hand together.
Well, one of my requests was just anything on Wanda Martin, James Herbert Martin. I didn't have like the box numbers for that, but I had box numbers for everything else, and then I did die circuit. So I don't know if they're difficult. Let's put it that way, and it's not it is by design, right? Um, so we're gonna have to get back at that. Uh, Jack, what up? Let's
Hang
go.
on, you missed Jason's comment.
Oh, what did I miss here?
He was in the movie Brokeback Mountain.
Stop it.
Go back.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm definitely missing it. Oh, did I get that far yet?
Here,
I don't think I got that far.
you had it up on the screen.
Oh, sheesh.
Here it is.
Okay, thank you, sir.
This is a safe space to say that I was in Brokeback Mountain. The appropriate comment, Brandon, when you say something like that, at the end of it, just put no homo. Okay? Just so we all know. What part did you play, Jason? I'm afraid to ask. All right, back to Greg.
Yeah, Scott Edwards. You said hi to Greg.
Greg.
The D Dubs. Happy Friday. What up, buddy? Packer Jack in the house. Ooh.
John Limbach, what's up? You need to get your ass back on the show here soon, sir.
We do. We do.
Yes. We need a Lauren Hall follow-up.
Yes, we do. For sure. Mr.
And
Paul.
who was it we determined was DB Cooper, Joe? Recently?
We didn't determine anything, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, we talked about a suspect, but
we had a good suspect. Buell Frazier. That was it. He was in Washington in 1971. Just saying, John, you might want to look into it. And, he worked for Boeing. He could have all that plutonium and shit on his tie. Just saying.
Just
might want to look into it.
I forgot about that.
And he kind of looks like the picture if you have some sunglasses on. Just saying. You might want to look into it.
Yeah. All right, and that is it. So, all right, let's get into it. We're going to get into some other characters in the Mexico City story who allegedly saw Oswald or didn't see Oswald. And
we are going to do that. In fact, Joe, the first one on the docket here I have to talk about with everybody here is Gilberto Polycarpo Lopez. All right.
All right. Please explain who this Scafusa is for the audience.
I am going to. And I'm going to show you a picture because this is one cool looking motherfucker.
Okay.
Check him out. This is the only known photograph of Gilberto Polycarpo Lopez. And it was taken at the border, Joe.
Okay.
Because they said he looked suspicious.
Can't argue with that.
And it was the day after the assassination. Okay? And he's going into Mexico to go to Cuba. All right, but that's not all that makes this guy a little suspect. He got some special treatment, if you will, that old Lee Harvey Oswald was looking for. And I'm not talking about D. Buell Cooper. Hey, you can't make this stuff up. So again, Gilberto Polycarpo Lopez was actually in Miami on November 18th when the first assassination attempt in Miami against Kennedy got averted. Okay. Very sus. Yes, there is an old TLG podcast on Gilberto. And he was also in the Fair Play for Cuba committee, Joe.
Really?
Really?
In Miami?
Yes. Yes. And he was 23 years old in 1963.
How did they think it was a good idea to have a chapter in Miami if they gave Lee Harvey Oswald shit about opening one in New Orleans? Miami would seem to be the worst place to have one.
Well, he didn't create one. He's just part of, the one in Miami,
Right.
And the thing is that he left Cuba. Let's see. I believe it was in 1960 to avoid being drafted into the military, and he eventually became a U.S. citizen. But by 1963, for some reason, his mentality changed. He joins the Fair Play for Cuba committee, and he's desperate to go back to Cuba. And he just happens to want to get out of the United States the day after the assassination. Is that just bad timing on his part? I don't know.
Or is it the continuing operation to discredit the FPCC?
Yeah, both sought favor right before the assassination from the Castro regime. Both had recently applied for Cuban visas and were both denied. Both had fought with their wives and were living alone. Again, he was 1 year younger than Oswald.
Okay, young guy.
Not much is known about this guy, right? Because, let's see. In fact, he'd been in Tampa 4 days earlier. Was in Texas. We don't know exactly where the day of the assassination, but he was in Texas.
He was in Texas.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't know exactly where though.
Okay, that's sus.
The obvious significance of this was that Lopez might be fleeing the country for some reason. According to author named James Johnston in his book, Murder, Inc., The CIA Under John F. Kennedy, pointing to his strange travel from Tampa to Texas to Mexico to Havana. Born in Cuba, yep. In the week leading up to Kennedy's death, Lopez shadowed the president, jetting to Tampa on November 18th for the first leg of the tour. Then he waited for an important call from Cuba, giving him the go-ahead order to leave the U.S. and go back to the island nation. A source in Tampa told investigators. But the call never came. And Lopez departed that night the next day for Texas. And just days later, JFK flew to Texas and eventually met his fate in an open-air motorcade. No one knows what Lopez did in Texas or where he was in Texas, but at midnight on the same day JFK was killed, he showed up at the Mexican border in Nuevo Laredo, then made his way to Mexico City. Hello. Presumably by bus. Hello.
Yeah.
Just 1 month earlier, Oswald had made this same trip via the same way, apparently, to the same place, apparently. Mexican border agents viewed Lopez as suspicious and snapped the only known photo of him wearing sunglasses at night. Again, this picture was taken at night. I wear my sunglasses at night so I can.
Yeah, maybe trying to conceal his identity would be the obvious reason.
Obviously. Either that or he was really, really high. One of the two. That's the only reason you wear sunglasses at night. The CIA station chief in Mexico City and Mexican authorities were aware of the recent allegation that Lopez had been involved in the assassination, and the allegation was unresolved. At this point, the CIA had flagged Lopez as a possible suspect in the assassination plot. Writes Johnston, who wrote this book, who was a lawyer on a 1970s Senate committee investigating links between CIA hits and Kennedy's death. Most likely the Church Committee. in Mexico City, where Lopez apparently obtained a Cuban visa. Now remember, Oswald asked for one of these, and they told him to go pound sand.
Right.
They gave this guy, Lopez, a Cuban courtesy visa, Joe, is what it's called. And on November 27th, he hopped on a Cubana Airlines flight bound for Havana. The flight had waited hours just for Lopez to arrive at the airport and then hastily took off after he climbed aboard. Though the Mexicans had tried to stall the plane but failed, according to intelligence reports, Lopez was the only passenger on board this Cubana Airlines flight to Cuba from Mexico City. So apparently they exfiltrated Lopez from Mexico City.
So he never got
like to me.
Never got to Cuba.
Yeah, he got to Cuba.
Oh, he did. Okay.
He said he was the only passenger on the flight.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Do you even watch the show, Joe?
Yeah, I was on another tab.
Jesus Christ. The CIA assigned the cryptonym it used for the assassination probe GP Floor to Lopez, but nothing much else was done. After that, Lopez just vanishes. The CIA sent its files on him to the FBI. The Bureau didn't follow up and failed to mention his name to the Warren Commission, which concluded Oswald had acted alone. A Senate committee later looked into the allegations but could not prove a thing some 10 to 15 years later. If the commission had known about Gilberto Lopez's waiting for a phone call from Cuba for his exfiltration about his visa, it might have asked for records of all phone calls from Cuba, since Oswald, too, was waiting to hear about his visa. But Oswald was not given a Cuban courtesy visa.
Yep.
Interesting. Authorities never pursued Lopez, despite the whole common belief that Castro almost certainly knew that Kennedy wanted him dead, so he acted first, possibly using Lopez's help. Lyndon Johnson believed that Kennedy had run a damned murder inc. in the Caribbean, giving the Cuban strongman reason to retaliate. According to an Atlantic article written by his former speechwriter 6 months after LBJ died, the CIA had allegedly recruited Chicago mobster Johnny Rosselli as well as Rolando Cubella, a Castro rival from Cuba, to kill the dictator. And yet, the confusion that abounded from the top to the bottom of the U.S. government still doesn't explain why significant leads were never pursued. Again, the FBI didn't let the Warren Commission know about this guy, despite his many parallels to Lee Harvey Oswald, despite his hasty extraction from Mexico City via the Cuban government, who gave him a Cuban courtesy visa and got him the fuck out of there in 4 days. And flew the plane just for him to get him out of there. So apparently, what Oswald was asking for at the Cuban consulate in Mexico City was possible. But the difference is that this guy was a Cuban national. He was born in Cuba. He basically left to avoid being drafted and was allowed to come back. But after that, he vanishes off the face of the earth. Nobody else knows any more things about him. Nobody ever interviews him. Nobody ever finds him. Nothing. I mean, there's just nothing on this guy. So it's an interesting parallel to Oswald's Mexico City trip, if you will. That's why I wanted to bring it up, to kind of compare and contrast how Gilberto Lopez was treated in Mexico versus Lee Harvey Oswald. It's a very stark contrast. Even though Gilberto Lopez had changed his ways after basically dodging the draft in Cuba and then pledging his allegiance back to Fidel Castro via the Fair Play for Cuba Committee.
Allegedly.
And did he do something in Dallas? Who knows? Mm-hmm. But he's leaving Texas the night of the 22nd, crossing the border, wearing sunglasses, looking all suspicious and shit. And then gets exfiltrated from Mexico City to Cuba as the only passenger on the plane, and then he just disappears off the face of the earth. The whole story's suspect.
Never heard from again after he
Never
gets.
heard from again.
Wow.
So I just thought that was an interesting parallel. Like I said, when you're looking at what happened with Lee, allegedly in Mexico City, and then this guy. It's like, whoa, what the shit?
I don't know what to think. I was kind of unfamiliar with this guy before you described him. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what after 3 years in Miami, assuming he's among the Cuban exile community, would have made him join the FPCC and then be in Dallas and then flee to Mexico City and then to Cuba. That's a problem.
Well, he must have really wanted to go back. He's obviously pro-Castro.
Is he? Or is he pretending to be pro-Castro?
Well, if he was just pretending, I doubt that the Cuban government would have exfiltrated him by himself on a Cubana Airlines flight within a couple days of him showing up there.
Right, but the implications of that would be that some pro-Castro Cubans were involved in the assassination.
This guy.
Okay.
And Oswald, possibly.
Okay.
Or could this guy have been a second patsy had Oswald not worked out? I don't know.
That's another good point. Yeah.
There's a lot of theories out there about this guy.
Wow.
Says it was reported years ago that he was friends with David Ferry. Well, imagine that. Everybody's friends with David Ferry.
Was he friends with Jack Ruby too?
He's a great guy, Joe.
he was a great guy. We all know that. Hi. Wow.
But yeah, so that's Gilberto Polycarpo Lopez, a very not greatly known anecdote or footnote in history, when it comes to all this stuff. And like I said, like you didn't even know nothing about him. So
no.
Very interesting dude. So I'll kick it back to you, Joseph.
All right. Let me get my tabs here, as that's what I was doing when you caught me off guard. We are going to be talking about another Gilberto.
It's Gilberto Night on the Lone Gunman Podcast.
Yeah, you should have just named it Gilberto Night.
Shake your maracas.
Gilberto Alvarado. And before I bring up the PowerPoint, I'm just going to give a brief summary of this as I go to my other screen here of this guy. And he was Gilberto Alvarado Ugarte, and he was a Nicaraguan-born man around 1940, date not exactly known, who played a notable...
Saying that word, Joe.
I know. Nicaraguan. There we go. Who played a notable but ultimately a kind of discredited role in the early investigations into Lee Harvey Oswald's trip to Mexico City. He was involved with the Frente de Liberación Nacional, the FLN, a guerrilla group in Nicaragua inspired by Fidel Castro's revolution. He also served as a FBI informant and had ties, or pretty much was, a Nicaraguan intelligence asset or agent under the right-wing Somoza government. In 1963, his group sent him to Mexico City, hoping to secure entry to Cuba for sabotage training. Here we go. Another person trying to get into Cuba. On November
in
20,
Mexico City.
yep, yeah, exactly. On November 26, 63, that would be 3 days after the assassination, he walked into the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City and claimed he witnessed Oswald in the Cuban embassy around September 18th, 1963. Now, I'm going to stop there. September 18th,
That's a little
1963.
early.
That's a problem, as we like to say. And that's why his story is almost discredited by everyone, even the intelligence agencies. We're going to get to some of those statements. But pretty much the key elements of his story, he allegedly saw Oswald talking to a, quote, red-haired Negro man, a Cuban or Cuban linked figure.
We call them red bone, Joe, down here, down south.
We just usually call them gingers, but I guess I don't know about. I've never seen a red-haired Negro man. Although there is one on the Sixers, but it's dyed and it's only half of him, his head. Oswald supposedly said something like, "You're not man enough, I could do it," implying killing Kennedy. Claimed to have seen money exchanged hands, roughly $6,500, which would have been like, what, like 70 grandish, as payment for the assassination. And he had said he had previously tried to report it to the embassy but was dismissed. He took a polygraph. He failed horribly.
That's a problem.
He admitted he failed horribly, and he goes, "Well, the machine isn't wrong. That's a problem." We're gonna get there, I promise. He was when under interrogation by Mexican police. He recanted, admitting the story was fabricated to provoke U.S. action against Castro. So that's a big clue here when we talk about, was Oswald in Mexico or was he impersonated? Was this trip to provoke U.S. action against Cuba? I think so.
Certainly fits the bill.
Certainly fix the bill. He was detained, or his claims contributed to the temporary detention and harsh questioning of Silvia Duran. We'll also get to in a little bit. We talked about her a little bit on Wednesday. In summary, he was kind of a low-level informant asset type, but his story definitely bears a little more inspection, if you will. So let me bring this up.
Here we call them Scafuza assets.
Yes, yeah. And a Nicaraguan one at that, right? Can you add that?
There you go. Well done.
I'm on the chat. I'm on the layer section.
You're on a big black screen is what you're on.
All right, here we go. I don't know why, because this is page 1 of 10. So this is a CIA document. I believe this is on the 26th or 27th. Do not turn Alvarado over to the Mexicans. We have officially asked ODNV for their position on this move, and pending ODNV's answer to our final consideration, Alvarado should not be surfaced to the Mexicans or turned over to them.
ODNV is the FBI, right?
I believe so. So, why would they not want? Google that really quickly, because I'm not 100% sure of that.
What?
ODNV. But interesting that maybe, like as we were talking about last episode, the Mexico City, they do not have their story straight, right? So Advise us if ODNV in Mexi attempts to get you to act one way or the other on the question of turning Alvarado over to the Mexicans. Please note the complicating factor that Alvarado may be a NIC agent too. That would be Nicaragua, right? Mana, please advise its views. We agree. Earthyroid, it's an interesting pseudonym, should go to Mexi and be reachable at the Nicaraguan embassy to be at Mexican disposable.
I was right. It's FBI.
Okay, good. Thank you. Note, ODNV, FBI, man Larry Keenan, now in Mexico, was sent especially to follow up leads on entire assassination. Please cooperate with him fully. Right? Now we're going to, yeah, because I did this in date order like I always do. So this is now the 29th. Alvarado claims that he was present inside Cuban embassy when Oswald was given $500. So again, there's a problem with his date, and now there's a problem with the amount of money.
$500 ain't shit.
Right. The station requested. Oh, yeah, we got to look up these. We should have probably looked up these cryptonyms. Ethroid 1, cooperation Mexi through major draws, and if possible, sending Ethroid 3 Mexi. E1 said Alvarado and Mexi without Ethroid. I think that's Mexican intelligence, if I had to guess, authority. And based off suggestion, used Juarez but agreed immediately to send E3. Station agreed to pay E3 expenses. He's on the process, blah, blah, blah. Even though his story read GP Floor, Rob, who was GP Floor? Wasn't? Did you say it was Lopez?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Even though his story regarding GP Lopez may be false, it possible he has been working other angle penetrate Cubans, and E3 will be able to assist in getting the facts straight. In spite Mexi 7113 believe it of value, E3 travel to Mexico and contact station officer about this case. And then you have Gilberto Alvarado here in cursive on the bottom right. End of message. So, this is interesting, Rob, because when you said GP floor, my antennas went up because I knew it would come up in one of the documents.
Maybe they got their Gilbertos mixed up. Who knows?
Really?
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't know. I just heard something.
I was looking up at erythroid, CIA cryptonym, and I get nothing.
Yeah.
It acts as an inflammatory factor that ameliorates collagen-induced arthritis.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
It's not a Mary Farrell. Do you want me to go back?
Googled it, Joe. It doesn't matter. It's
Okay,
fine.
okay. So this is another CIA document talking about a lot of. One difference is that Alvarado failed to identify Silvia Duran from several photographs. So this guy's full of shit.
Yeah.
That LI Tempo showed him with station officer Alvarado station officer Alvarado did identify her. I don't know what that means. Interrogation continues. Alvarado has now been suave. Ooh, and friendly. Maybe they are the same Gilbertos.
Who knows?
Alvarado has also claimed I didn't read that wrong. In 1961, on a mission for Nicaraguan service, and give the same story read present visit as he gave station. Namely, he was awaiting documentation as a Mexican to be furnished him by Cuban authorities for a training mission in sabotage to Cuba. Above brief, Ally Tempo, quote, doubts story and will begin work to, quote, break Alvarado. So again, they know he's full of shit pretty much right away.
Yeah.
I think this is even before the polygraph. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to an HSC interview with someone we've talked about before, Raymond Roca. Alvarado. I guess he was there or had some type of interaction with him. According to Mr. Goldsmith, who was, I guess, the HSCA person, according to the polygraph result, Alvarado did not pass the polygraph, and after being told that he did not pass the exam, he essentially said, quote, the machine doesn't lie. Is this a fair statement? That's correct, Roca says. Is it fair to say, or appropriate to say, that based upon that, the Alvarado allegation has been resolved so far as the agency was concerned, if you know? I do not know. Well, Mr. Goldsmith, were you told in 63 that Alvarado had made a statement about being offered money? No, no. And again, Roca was kind of like the counterintelligence liaison to the Warren Commission, right, Rob? Or something like that. He had some type of role like that. He was high up.
Yeah, Roca was high up, yeah.
Yeah, and I believe he worked in a liaison type capacity.
I don't believe so, but
Okay, I was told solely that he failed the polygraph, and that upon told that he was being deceptive and that he had agreed, is basically the story I heard. This is hearsay now, but it's not. It's not too far off what that says. I see now. So he's saying it's hearsay, but then he says the next sentence, it's not. Okay. Mr. Goldsmith, do you know whether his allegation that he was offered money by someone was ever examined? I do not know. I do not know that. Now, we are going to go to the next page. And ARB, shout out Andrew Eiler, you'll love this. Final determination notice, read Gilberto Alvarado. And this is just the opening page. And it is regarding a CIA document about the cable on 11/27 about Alvarado's story after 2 installments tends to prove that he has only been in Cuban embassy and knows some of the employees by sight or name or both. Alvarado's story, I just clipped part of the document because the rest was irrelevant. After 2 installments, tends prove that he had been in Cuban embassy and knows some of the employees, but nothing more. So, let's get rid of this now. So, essentially, Alvarado's story is bullshit about Oswald receiving money to assassinate President Kennedy, and I believe we have some. Yeah.
Brandon gifted 5 memberships. Congratulations to Dex, Matt, Cammy, Steven, and TWG. Enjoy your memberships, and thank you, Brandon, for that. And then another David Ferry salute to Mike the Library Man in honor of the birthday boy. Happy birthday. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it, brother.
And Rob, we might need one more because my mom is now a spook.
You couldn't get your mom to be a covert operator or a super.
Well, I don't know if I want. I don't know if I want her to.
Come on, man.
She thought she needed to sign up to comment.
You should have just said, "Give me your card number. I'll do it for you." Just,
I didn't know it.
recurring.
I didn't know it till after, like
super spy.
After like 2 days after when I went out to dinner with her Tuesday, which is why I missed the book review.
All right, Joe. If you really want your mom to get the David Ferry salute, here you go.
I guess why not,
Mama Borelli.
Yes, he was, James. Yes, he was. Um, One might argue he was maybe more competent than Angleton.
Yeah, he definitely knew how to answer
Yeah.
very confusedly.
Yeah, of course.
Very
Well,
Sandy-esque.
they all answer that way, right? You
Yeah,
know, I don't know. I don't know. I can't recall.
maybe seems that way.
They know how to deal with interrogation and
Yeah, you gotta
questioning.
take it that way.
But that's interesting with GP Floor being Lopez. I don't know, man. They could be the same person. I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know if we have a picture of uh, Alvarado. I don't think we do.
I don't know. The person who researched him should probably see if he could find one.
I actually tried. Not like super hard.
The person who researched Gilberto Lopez found the only picture ever taken of him with sunglasses on at night.
Here we go.
What's up, Dan? Welcome in. Welcome in.
What's up, Dan? How's it going?
Slacking as usual.
Oh man. Oh wait. We do have one
Oh,
from Spartacus.
imagine that.
We do have one. Let me. Share this here.
Hold on. Keep. Oh shit! I already took it away. Hold on.
I'm gonna enlarge. I'm gonna enlarge.
No, I gotta top my side up. Hold on. We can do side by side.
Okay. Side by side. That's what she said.
Let me make this a little smaller. I don't think so, man. That dude's on the right. Lopez got
don't
a
think
really
so.
skinny face.
Yeah.
Ears are
Unless he
different.
went on Ozempic back in the day or something.
Yeah, the nose is different. The mouth, yeah, that's totally different. Not him.
Yeah. All right. Well, due diligence done.
Due diligence done.
So, yeah. But interesting that GP Floor is kind of mentioned in his documents, right? I guess it's all relating to Oswald in Mexico City, but still pretty interesting.
So another piece of the Mexico City puzzle, Joe, happens to take place with a guy that we know all too well here on this show, and that would be Richard Case Nagell. And his story of Mexico City and Oswald is very interesting. And I don't know if we can believe it or not, much like the other three that we've heard tonight. But Richard Case Nagell was a war veteran who later admitted to being a double agent for the Russians and the United States. In 1963, Nagell penetrated a New Orleans cell of Cuban exiles that wanted to assassinate Kennedy. According to him, their plan was to make it look like Castro was to blame. Sound familiar? Nagell said he told the KGB about the plot and
Yes, Sally. I was going to say, Tiny, send me an email about this. She's talking about archives and roof numbers and stuff, box numbers. Sorry to interrupt you. But send me an email.
Okay.
She loves her. She loves him.
Huh?
Looking into him.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Yeah.
So, I'll have to scan a lot of pages quick. 522 pages. But I'm sorry, sir. Continue. Pray continue.
Nagell said he told the KGB about the plot and they ordered him to warn Lee Harvey Oswald. Nagell also said he told the FBI and CIA about the plan, which was to unfold in late September while Kennedy was on the conservation tour. Then 5 days before, Kennedy was in Grand Forks, I believe that's North Dakota. Richard Case Nagell walks into an El Paso, Texas bank, fires 2 shots in the ceiling, and waited to be arrested. His reason was that he wanted to isolate himself from the murder. Some credit Nagell with subverting the September assassination attempt, whether Kennedy... I don't know if I'm offline or what, or Joe is. Anyway, I'll keep going. I will assume that I am still live on the air. Maybe I'm not. Who knows? Some credit. Okay, yeah, we got that. There were 14 cities on the tour, and the crime could have been carried out in any of them. While studying the various assassination theories, researchers Gary Severson and John Williams discovered 3 interesting links between North Dakota and Kennedy's assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald. The first was a newspaper story released on November 23rd, 1963, the day after Kennedy was shot. It had actually been written 4 years earlier when UPI reporter Aileen Mosby interviewed Oswald about his reasons for defecting to the Soviet Union. "I am a Marxist," Oswald told her. "I became interested about the age of 15. An old lady handed me a pamphlet about saving the Rosenbergs. I still remember that pamphlet. I don't know why, and then we moved to North Dakota," Oswald said, "and I discovered one book in the library called Das Kapital. It was what I had been looking for my entire life. It was like a very religious man opening the Bible for the first time. When Mosby's story was presented to the Warren Commission, the words North Dakota had been changed to to New Orleans, and there's no clear explanation for this. Very weird. Who keeps changing comments? If Joe is not here, I'm not doing it. What in the hell's going on here? There's a ghost in the machine. Huh. I don't know what the hell's going on. Interesting. So let's get back to Nagell. So Richard Case Nagell claims that he met Oswald at the Russian embassy in Los Angeles, I believe, at some point. What is going on with this thing? And then again in Mexico City. Sorry, am I still live, folks? Let me know here in the chat. Are you seeing Joe at all in the chat? Or is it just me? Help a brother out here. We are live. Is Joe here? Do you see Joe? Just me. Joe is gone. Well, somebody keeps highlighting comments, and it's not me. And according to the studio, Joe is not in the studio. And according to this, it says he's offline. But somebody keeps highlighting comments, and it's not me. I don't know what the hell's going on here. All right. Anyway, it's just another piece of the puzzle to the whole Mexico City thing. And again, allegedly in September of 1963, Richard Case Nagell writes a letter to the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, or yeah, J. Edgar Hoover specifically, and alleges to tell him about the plot. And that he's supposed to take out Lee Harvey Oswald. Now, again, this letter never turns up. The FBI never acknowledges getting it. And the whole thing is very weird. That he's supposed Ay. So, was Richard Case Nagell just crazy like a fox? Or did he really have some kind of knowledge about Oswald and the plot? Nagell, Heidel, I don't know. I'm still not 100% either way on Richard Case Nagell. Really have some Sometimes I think he's crazy and full of shit. Sometimes I think he might have known something. Very interesting.
Hi.
Oh, you're just in time.
I was talking to myself. I thought it was you because it said on my laptop you had internet issues, but I guess it was me this time. So I'm sorry, guys. I was like talking to myself for like 10 minutes. Pray continue, sir.
Back to you, Joe.
What?
I'm done with Richard Case Nagell. Back to you.
Oh man, I haven't seen. Oh man. All right. So we know about Silvia Duran, right? Who worked at the Cuban embassy.
Sexy Sylvia.
She was not bad looking, for sure. And she was arrested by the behest of the CIA, I believe, on the Saturday, November 23rd, 1963. And I was just going to read a little part of what very esteemed researcher Peter Dale Scott, and my shit is lagging hard tonight, man. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm clicking on tabs, they're not opening. She was obviously a consulate, or she worked in, I already said that. Alright, here we go. It's working a little better. Let me share this now. Sorry, I don't know what happened, man. But this is from the article from Peter Dale Scott, The CIA, Drug Trafficking, and Oswald in Mexico. So, let's put this up on the screen and I'll... Alright. So... this part is section 1, Silvia Duran's managed story. Luis Echeverria, the Mexican minister of, Gobernacion, told Win Scott on November 23rd that Silvia Duran had given a, quote, written statement attesting to 2 visits by Oswald. According to the sequence of documents in Oswald's 201 file, no written statement from Duran's DFS interview reached CIA headquarters until November 28th, after Langley had asked for it the day before. This is, however, evidence that the CIA HQ received a written Duran statement, not in the Oswald 201 file, from a back channel. Of course, she had a 10-page written statement that was made under duress, which we'll get to. We're not going to get to it, but we'll talk about it. Already on November 24th, we find a cable from John Scalzo at headquarters, who has already read it after, quote, analyzing all the cable traffic and reading the statement of Silvia Duran. One important question still puzzles us. Even earlier, on November 21st, the CIA opined in a headquarters memo that to the FBI that Oswald probably wanted a Soviet visa first, then a Cuban transit visa while waiting for it. The memo added that, quote, this is also the conclusion reached by Silvia Duran, the Mexican national employee of the Cuban embassy who dealt with Oswald, end quote. So that's interesting. Duran could indeed easily have voiced this opinion, but there is nothing in the Oswald 201 file that indicates how the CIA could have known this. It seems likely that the 10-page written Duran statement sent on November 27th, 63, was designed to replace an earlier suppressed statement referred to in the CIA cable of November 23rd. Summarizing the contents of the statement, the cable repeated the Phase 1 allegation that Oswald said he was a, quote, communist and admirer of Castro, but what the CIA found worthy of reporting on November 23rd, that Oswald said he was a communist, had disappeared from the November 26th 10-page statement as later two subsequent differing versions of Duran's November 23rd interview. There are two phases. Phase 1 is what Silvia told the Cuban ambassador after her release, that the DFS asked her if she had personal relations and even if she was intimate, i.e., sexual relationships, with Oswald. From whatever source, rumors of a Duran-Oswald sexual relationship were soon floating through the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City in the first week after the assassination, when they were heard by an FBI agent, Larry Keenan, which, Rob, I believe, was the guy we mentioned earlier who was
the FBI.
Who was sent down there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, who had been sent down by Washington. I'm sorry. So, Cuban exile who was also a CIA agent, Salvador Diaz Verson, Verson, claimed to have heard in the offices of the Mexico City newspaper Excelsior. I'm so bad at this. Excelsior, on November 25th, that the DFS had learned from Duran that Oswald had contacted Duran and had stayed in her home in Mexico City. So that's another problem too, right? Because you have allegedly the only evidence of him being there was that hotel registrar, right?
Yeah.
As late as 67, Duran repeatedly told CIA agent L.I. Ring 3 that in her November 23rd interrogation, she had been interviewed thoroughly and beaten until she admitted she had an affair with Oswald. CIA Station Chief Win Scott later reported on this Phase 1 allegation as a fact. The fact that Silvia Duran had sexual intercourse with Lee Harvey Oswald on several occasions when the latter was in Mexico City. A decade later, Duran confirmed to the HSCA staff that she had been questioned about sexual relations with Oswald, which she linked to the claim that we were communists and that we were planning a revolution. And this is from the HSCA here, all the time they tell me that I was a communist, and they insisted that I was a very important person for the Cuban government and that I was the link for the international communists, the Cuban communists, the Mexican communists, and the American communists, and that we were going to kill Kennedy, and I was the link. For them, I was very important. All right, so then we're getting back to the blame the commies here. We shall see that the theory of an international communist assassination conspiracy with the Oswald-Duran relationship at its center was one propounded by Duran's cousin-in-law, Elena Garro de Paz, who was already in DFS, I believe Mexican custody. Duran blamed her cousin for her arrest by the DFS, and that is true. They were given her work address, her home address, her telephone numbers, all her information. For whatever the details there was a conspicuous contrast between the Phase 1 account of the November 23rd interview and the November 24th and the extent of the Phase 2 accounts. None of the extant versions mention either a conspiracy or a sexual relationship. Yet a State Department officer later told Secretary of State William Rogers that he had heard from Deputy Chief of CIA Station Alan White, that must have been the guy under Win Scott, that the DFS had indeed interrogated Silvia Duran about the substance of her cousin's allegations. The credibility of the Duran allegations is still further complicated by the hints and rumors explored by the Lopez report that Silvia Duran may have been a source of information for either the CIA or the Mexicans. Oof. So there's a lot going on here, Rob.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on here. He goes into Alvarado and how his story is as well managed. And it kind of goes back to what we touched on in the first episode and how they're trying to tie together the story. And in some cases by force, right? In some cases by lying or whatever.
Possible.
So, I mean, that's all I had. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in Silvia Duran's 201 file. We could read the 10-page revised Phase 2, as what Peter Dale Scott calls it, report. But it was done under duress, so I don't put much credence to it, Rob. And yeah, I guess I'll throw it back to you if you don't have anything else, and then we'll get into our final thoughts.
Yeah. Now, back in the time of the HSCA, there was a lot of questioning about this whole Mexico City thing. They were really, really trying to get to the bottom of it because the FBI had fucked it up so bad for the Warren Commission that nobody knew whether to make heads or tails out of it, right? So they basically went back and started from scratch, hence the Lopez report, hence all of these interviews with Silvia Duran, William Coleman, a bunch of these other assets, the Tarasovs, David Alley Phillips, the whole nine. And part of going back in time and trying to figure out what exactly happened, you come across a lot of anomalies in the story, such as this one, Joe.
Okay.
We refer to it as the 14-minute gap.
Oh, yes.
So less than 24 hours after the assassination, Hoover reported to Johnson on the state of the investigation, noting that evidence against Oswald is not very strong. Hoover reported on the tracing of the rifle to an alias of Oswald and other details implicating him in the shooting. And this was at 10 a.m. on November 23rd, 10 a.m. Less than 24 hours after the shooting is when this phone call took place. LBJ asked, "Have you established any more about the visit to the Soviet embassy in Mexico in September? An event of little or no interest to the inner circles of government." Hoover replied, "No, that's one angle that's very confusing for this reason. We have up here the tape.
Ain't that the truth?"
And the photograph of the man who was at the Soviet embassy using Oswald's name. The picture and the tape do not correspond to this man's voice, nor to his appearance. In other words, it appears that there is a second person who was at the Soviet embassy down there. In other words, an imposter had implicated Oswald in a relationship with Soviet agents less than 2 months before the assassination. The quotes given above are taken from a transcript of the conversation made contemporaneously in 1963. The tape itself is at the Lyndon Johnson Library, the LBJ Library, and The accompanying audio tape itself appears to have been erased at some time since then. The accompanying audio consists of 14 minutes of noisy silence. See the 14-minute gap essay for more information. And of course, this is the part of the tape, it's the important part where Hoover says, he's not the guy on the tape. He's not the guy in the picture. Our agents are familiar with Oswald. It's not him.
Right.
Which is a problem. It becomes a problem. But to add another layer to the story, I'm going to give you a little background on a fellow that is not very well known when it comes to the Mexico City story. And he kind of tangentially could be part of Oswald's story, allegedly. Now, I know Oswald wrote down about in his notebook, that what he did in Mexico City. He says he went to a Jai Lai game and something else. I don't know what. But I believe at some point he may have told Marina that when he was in Mexico City, he saw a bullfight, right? Now, this is the story of Robert Clayton Buick, who has actually written a couple books about the JFK assassination. He was an American-born bullfighter with a taste for a lavish lifestyle. But, Joe, he was also a bank robber. Actually, one of the 10 most wanted on the FBI list in 1966.
Wow.
From 1961 until 1966, Robert Clayton Buick was accused of holding up 3 banks in San Diego County and 19 banks in Los Angeles County, getting away with some $75,000, which at the time, a lot of money. He was a diminutive dude, but he had the erect strut of a matador. He lived in Mexico, where he fought bulls in Mexico City and Puerto Rico and ran a marble importing business.
He was running with the bulls.
The one-time San Diego resident said he was to enjoy fine wines, expensive food, exotic travel, jazz, boating, and beautiful women, and also boasting about his bouts in the ring.
Hey, can't hate on that.
He is a player.
Yes. Which also means he might be an embellisher.
Well, this is what he looks like. Hang on, let me not distort this so terribly, so you get a better picture of him. See him there?
Yes, I do.
This is what he looked like in 1963 as a bullfighter.
Okay.
In the Mexico.
Okay.
Right?
He's probably like a 6, if no homo.
We'll ask Brandon his Brokeback Mountain opinion. But yeah, that's Robert Clayton Buick. What he looked like there. Interesting fellow.
Okay. So what did he see?
Well, not much. The inside of a jail cell for a while, because he was almost arrested at his last robbery in Los Angeles, but he got away after biting his pursuer on the hand. He bit a cop on the hand to get away from him, and he got away.
Hey, whatever works.
A station wagon said to have been used in his escape was later recovered in Bankers Hill, a posh section of Los Angeles. Buick made the FBI top 10 list in 1966. And apparently he had Borelli luck.
He got scars?
Well, he was caught 5 days later near Pecos, Texas, after a state patrolman and a deputy sheriff noted a very gaudy-looking Volkswagen Carmen Ghia with Florida plates that they thought were expired as being suspicious. The driver identified himself as Mark Anthony Dansero. The officers asked him to open his briefcase and get his driver's license out and saw his gun inside the briefcase. It was then when one of the officers recognized him from the FBI's wanted poster that had been put out 5 days earlier.
He does have Borelli look.
Ultimately sentenced to 20 years in prison after that.
Sheesh.
Yeah. The ex-con has since self-published at least 3 or 4 books on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Yeah, he was known as the El Ciclón del Norte, Joe.
Okay.
The Cyclone of the North.
So, was he in Texas in 1963? I mean, Texas, Mexico City?
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
In the spring of 1963, this is what he writes in one of his books. And I'm quoting here, "I was a rising star in the touring world of bullfighting and the most successful American bullfighter of my time residing in Mexico City. When I was approached one late evening by 2 U.S. government agents and asked to do a surveillance project at a small hotel that I had frequented in the past and was well known by the staff and patrons. Subsequently, I met with someone named Lee Harvey Oswald, an American, who suddenly told me on September 28th, 1963, of a plot to kill President Kennedy. 2 months later, Kennedy was dead in Dallas. Oswald was not the lone nutcase that everyone perceived him to be. He was intelligent, articulate, well-read, experienced, and calculating. The assassination plotters set him up as the patsy. Roselli told me they, quote, could not have cloned a better patsy, end quote.
Oh, he knew Roselli too.
Apparently so.
Interesting.
They were both from L.A., you know.
That is true. That's what I was...
He's a bank robber and, you know, he had robbed 21 banks. I mean, that's pretty prolific for a bank robber.
That's pretty good. You usually don't get away with 21.
Right. They said, but Oswald was smart and got away after he sensed what was about to come down on him. For they had intentions of taking him out after the assassination because he knew too much. And the rest is in the history books when Jack Ruby took him out in that basement garage that Sunday evening. As the facts prevailed throughout the years, Oswald never fired a shot, turns out, at the presidential motorcade, nor did he shoot or kill J.D. Tippit. According to Buick, there were 3 shooters in Dealey Plaza that day, and a total of 5 shots were fired at the president. The shot that fatally wounded the president was to his right temple, never revealed in the autopsy report or the Warren Commission report. That was fired by the grassy knoll shooter. Guess who, Joe? Who do you think this guy names as the grassy knoll shooter?
Oh man, give me a second here. Valente or someone?
No, nobody.
Okay. Okay, give me a hint. Is it someone likely? Or
close, yeah.
Someone's close. Lauren Hall.
No.
Okay.
One in the wrong direction.
Is it someone we talked about tonight?
His name has not been mentioned tonight.
Lawrence Howard?
No, you're going the wrong direction. More Scafuza-ish.
Roselli.
No, closer. Even more Scafuza than Roselli.
Even more Scafuza than Roselli. Oof. That's a great hint. I don't know. Sam Giancana? No, I have no idea.
Oh, you are so dancing around it like a damn ballerina, bro.
I mean, he didn't narrow it down much for me.
That was fired by the grassy nose shooter Jimmy Sutton, a.k.a. James Files.
Oh.
Whom I communicate with on a monthly basis. He is currently doing 30 years in Statesville Correctional Center in Joliet, Illinois. Johnny Rosselli, here you go, was
Yeah,
also involved in the Kennedy assassination. He
you're
told
right.
me in the spring of 71 what had taken place in Dallas that day, 23 years prior to Files' confession in 94. Their stories were identical with only minor discrepancies. Rosselli was to be a backup shooter for the mob hitman Chucky Nicoletti, but he backed out the morning of the assassination and replaced by James Files. The shooter in the sniper's nest was
Nicoletti. I don't know.
no.
Um, I don't know. This guy has lost me, bro.
The shooter in the sniper's nest of the book depository was LBJ's man, Mac Wallace,
Oh
who
shit!
left his fingerprints on the carton boxes that hid the rifle from public view. Oswald was in the second floor lunchroom at the time of the shots. After years of having personal knowledge, involvement, and extensive research, I have become the foremost expert about what really happened that day in Dallas. There are many reasons and many entities that wanted President Kennedy taken out that is covered in the contents of my work. Yeah, he named his Kennedy book about the assassination. He named it Taking Out the Garbage.
Interesting.
Apparently that's a mafia reference to, rubbing somebody out.
Huh.
You had to take out the garbage.
From your grimoire. Oh man.
Yeah.
I've never heard that reference before. Thank you for that.
So again, how
I might use it.
reliable is this guy? Right? I mean, we know he's a bullfighter in Mexico in 63. There is some corroboration coming from Oswald about being at a bullfight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Right.
It's a weird story.
It's weird. And it's hard to believe someone that has obviously was on the FBI top 10 most wanted list, robbed 21 banks, and then has now wrote 4 JFK books. So it's like...
It's a con. It's a long con, a very long con.
Right. And then you name, Nickel Files and Nicoletti and whatever.
Yeah, you pull in all the other scafoozes that are lying about this shit.
Rosselli, yeah. Although it's not out of the realm of possibility he might have known or ran into Rosselli at some point. But
Yeah, like I said, they were both in the LA circle of the underworld, robbing banks and the mafia.
Right.
Because it says he was also a part-time actor when he was in LA and robbing banks.
Oh.
Yeah, and Rosselli was, dealing with the studios and stuff out there as well. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they knew each other.
Handsome Curtis.
All right, which brings us to this point in the show, Joe.
Oh no.
That you've been dreading for a very long time. But before I asked you your opinion, I just want to set the table for everyone here real quick.
Okay.
Because this is a very complicated situation when we're talking about was Oswald in Mexico. Now, if you were to believe that Oswald did in fact go to Mexico, you would be basing that information, right, upon the personal testimony of eyewitnesses who saw him and dealt with him in Mexico City. We talked about some of them tonight, including Silvia Duran.
Yeah.
Right? Q has been interviewed. He says Oswald's there. Another guy that worked in the Cuban consulate was there. He said he positively identified him. You got the 3 KGB guys positively identifying Oswald as being at their embassy.
Yeah, you do. We
Right?
played that. We played that clip on Wednesday night.
And if you think about it this way, the only thing when looking at Oswald's actions in New Orleans leading up toward, the assassination and what he was doing and what he eventually tried to do when he did get to Mexico City, if he went, allegedly, He was building his own pro-Castro legend,
Right.
right? So you can either believe one of two things: that Oswald was legitimately a communist Marxist, legitimately a pro-Castro guy, legitimately wanted to get the fuck back to Russia with his family via Cuba and get back out of the United States. We have evidence that letters were written to the Washington embassy or the Russian embassy in Washington starting as far back as February of 1963 to start to get the ball rolling. They made Marina jump through a bunch of hoops, which she did. She was denied because her relatives, her uncles, would not let them come live with them.
Mhm.
Don't blame them. They were told to try again, right? At which point, it was her writing letters, Marina writing letters, and Lee writing letters. And it was about in July of 63 when Oswald loses a job at the Riley Coffee Company again, right? There's a couple months of turmoil there, and he starts doing this thing because he's starting to get desperate. So if he's of the mindset and they're writing letters and they're not getting anywhere with the Russian embassy in Washington, then maybe he's thinking, look, if I go to Mexico and go to the Russian embassy there, then maybe I can get clearance if I can prove my bona fides that I am a pro-Castro supporter. I'm in this organization. I was arrested for the cause. I'm persecuted by the FBI, basically seeking a political asylum, if you will, and thinking that they're going to give him a Cuban courtesy visa, right? The same one that Gilberto Lopez got. But it didn't happen. They made him wait. They made him go through the proper channels because he was not a Cuban national. Right?
Mhm.
So the only thing that makes sense, if you believe that Oswald went to Mexico and tried to do these things, is that, in New Orleans, he's getting desperate. Marina's going to have the baby in October, right? So he needs to make something happen before then, or at least try to. That was the plan all along. So at the end of September, he embarks on his journey and attempts to, proceed with his plan to try to get to Cuba, and then Marina would follow after because they wouldn't keep Marina here as a married wife to an American, when their husband's not in the country and is requesting that he join her or that she join him, right? And again, allegedly, that's the plan. But the plan doesn't work. And they keep fighting. She keeps living with Ruth Payne. He gets a shitty job at the school book depository. He's living away from her. Obviously, he's going back and visiting, but there's no real connection there. She may have told him that last night, it's not, we're never going to get back together. You're a loser. I don't want anything to do with you. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And this is all pure speculation right about now. Right? But that is where you get the narrative. Forget for a minute the whole bullshit of the FBI trying to recreate a trip. You can't do it. Right? So it doesn't really matter how Oswald got to Mexico City. The only place that he would have had to show an ID would have been the border at Nuevo Laredo to get into Mexico. That's the only place he would have had to show his passport or an ID. Remember, you didn't even need your ID to fly a plane in 1963, Joe.
That is true.
You damn sure didn't need one to buy a bus ticket.
Yes. Shout out Buell D. Buell D. Cooper.
Right.
And that was the 70s.
Yeah. And this is 63. So
Right.
I don't put much faith in the whole FBI recreation of, he was on this bus at this time and this bus at that time. Then he got on this bus at this. It doesn't matter if it's wrong or right. It really doesn't matter if he flew there, went on a bus, or got driven there, whatever the case may be. Who cares? All right. The whole point is he allegedly got there somehow, right? And he may have took a bus from Nuevo Laredo down, right? And likely there was a bus that went straight from Mexico City back across the border. Much easier to track that than trying to get you from New Orleans to the border, right? When you don't know where he went in Texas to catch the next bus. Or even if he was on a bus. Who knows? I don't trust the FBI. In their investigation, I don't trust that they had records of each passenger on the bus, of every bus ride. I don't doubt it. Back in 63. As long as you had the cash for a bus ticket, I doubt you had to sign anything. And even if you did, you could sign a different name. Why wouldn't you? If you're trying to clandestinely go somewhere. You know what I mean?
Like Mr. Lopez, or just be clandestine-ish like him with his sunglasses.
Yeah. Now, if you're of the conspiratorial mindset, like this comment Sally's got up here, says if he went, he wanted to be seen, remembered, and had no intention of going to Cuba. Well, that's possible too. But then again, he's drawing attention to himself for some reason. Now, if he's doing that on his own volition, he's a scafuza.
Yeah.
Now, if he's doing it at the behest or the direction of a different entity, and he was too stupid to ask why am I doing this type of thing, then yeah, maybe. But I think he did have intentions of trying to get to Cuba. Because at this point, he's desperate. He's been writing the Russian embassy all year. Marina's pregnant. Things ain't going well. He's losing his job. He's building his own Fair Play for Cuba narrative, his own A.J. Heidel narrative, his own, pro-Castro narrative in New Orleans. He's pissing off Cuban exiles, right? And he does something, a desperate act. He goes to Mexico City, to the Cuban consulate there, and tries to get to Cuba. But they make him jump through the hoops and, go through the steps. Now, if you're of the conspiratorial mindset and you're of the belief that he wasn't there at all and that he was impersonated, there's very good evidence to back up that assumption, including the 14-minute gap on the tape, Hoover's own comments from the transcripts of the tapes that were done contemporaneously, but we don't actually have the audio of the tape, nor do we have any photographs of Oswald in Mexico City other than the one that is on his Cuban visa application, right? There's problems with that as well. There's two different versions of this with stamps on it in different places, which is a problem. That's indicative of doing something after the fact for some reason, like making it look like he was there, right? Which is not good. It's not good. The problem with that theory is all of the eyewitness testimony that puts Oswald in Mexico. So for the theory that Oswald was never there to be true, one would have to believe that all of these other people are lying about him being in Mexico City, including people that rode on the bus with him, allegedly, including the hotel manager where he stayed. We have a signature, which of course could be forged, and it's not really his name. It's Harvey Oswald Lee, just a variation of his own name, right? We have that letter from Oswald to the Russian embassy in Washington admitting that he went to Mexico out of his own lips. We have some Mexican memorabilia found among his possessions, which of course could be faked, allegedly. But again, you have people like Silvia Duran, Asquay, the KGB guys, all saying that it was him. He was here. It was him. But then you have the CIA Mexico City station, the wire intercepts, claiming somebody was speaking in very poor Russian, which Oswald was not a poor Russian speaker.
No.
Lived in Russia for almost 3 years and has a Russian wife, and you think he can't speak Russian fluently? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. So in the grand conspiracy, you have to believe that all these other people that saw him there are lying. You have to come up with another explanation of where Oswald was at this time. If he wasn't in Mexico, where the fuck was he? You can maybe account for one night with Odio.
Maybe.
But again, that's early in the trip. It's 25th to 26th. He can still be in Mexico within 2 days and be at these, be down there on the 27th or 28th through the 3rd or whenever he was down there till.
Right, and that would mean he'd have to gone down there and like shacked up with Duran right away.
Allegedly, if he did.
So
there's very good arguments for both sides of this, and then there's even one argument that maybe it was both. Maybe he was there, and maybe he was impersonated while he was there, which is a good option as well. Now, the reasons for that could be that they are setting this guy up for an upcoming operation that maybe they're not clear what it is yet, but that he can be a useful tool given his pedigree. He's a disgruntled American who defected to Russia, who married some Russian wife, comes back to the United States, can't hold a job, doesn't live with his old lady, can't keep a job. I don't know.
Yeah. And then you have, of course, the whole issue of there not being... Yeah, and the whole issue of there not being pictures, the audio being deleted or lost. Some people say they heard it. But Rob, before I give my final thoughts, I did find a little audio about LBJ and Hoover talking about this. I don't think it's in the 14-minute gap, but let me see if I can play this, all right? And this is from our friend Robbie at Out of the Blank.
Yeah, this is on the 29th.
This is on the 29th.
There's no audio, Joe.
God, my YouTube app on here is horrible. Let me just do it through remove that. Let me just do it through my phone.
We hope to have this thing wrapped up today, but we probably won't get it before the first of the week. This angle in Mexico is giving us a great deal of trouble because the stories I have this man, Oswald getting $6,500 from the Cuban embassy, and then coming back to this country with it. We're not able to prove that fact. The information was that he was there on the 18th of September in Mexico City, and we are able to prove conclusively he was in New Orleans that day.
I found this weird thing in a plastic bag.
Okay. So, on the 28th or 9th, there's still, of course he's talking about Alvarado here, with the $6,500. They're still trying to figure out their story.
Yeah, but
did that come through okay?
Yeah, it was a little garbled, but yeah, it was legible.
Okay.
But by this time, Oswald is dead, and the narrative starts to shift. LBJ claims there will be a commission to investigate the murder, since Oswald cannot stand to a trial. because the American people want answers. And of course, one of those answers cannot be that Cuba or Russia was in any way part of this scheme.
Right.
And that's why I think there's a disconnect with the evidence of Oswald being in Mexico. I think it was deep sixth. Because if he was there, you know they got pictures of this motherfucker.
Right.
You know they got audio of this motherfucker. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a good look.
No. And his voice is distinct, so.
Yeah. You know, it would definitely not be a good look. You know, to see the guy that just killed the president talking to the Russians and the Cubans a couple months, before the assassination.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one could draw a pretty straight line from here to there and, be like, okay, this guy's obviously working with the Russians or the Cubans. He's a pro-Castro guy. Obviously, they're behind this in some way. And that's why I think this Alvarado story doesn't make sense, other than the fact that this guy was put up to telling a story and he fucked up the dates, right? Because it really didn't happen. But they got some Scafuza who couldn't keep his dates straight because, if they're alleging that Oswald was given payment for, from somebody in the Cuban embassy, that's not a good look either.
Mm-hmm.
And that strikes more to the setting up Oswald side of the story.
Mm-hmm.
To make it look like he's in bed with the Castro and Cuba and the Russians.
Right.
A commie, making him a communist, taking out Kennedy, which is not the narrative that they wanted. So that's ultimately, I think, why things got deep sixth. Evidence comes up missing or lost or erased, or that's why things don't quite make sense. That's why we can't make heads or tails out of any of this shit, because nothing makes sense, because there's things missing. There's been things taken out. There's been asses covered. You see what I'm saying? Because there's too many things going on in the intelligence community with Cuba, Russia, Mexico City, Oswald, and the president being killed. It is not good. And if the world found out that, hey, actually the CIA has been trying to kill Castro for a couple of years, and he definitely found out about it, he'd probably definitely be pissed about it, and probably definitely try to retaliate. Why not use an American against one of their own? I mean, that's pretty brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to kill me, well, guess what? Come over here, Lee Harvey Oswald. You really you really support me, this and that. Here's what I want you to do. Go back to the United States, get a job along the motorcade route, and take out Kennedy. Once you do that, if you can find your way back to Cuba, you'll be treated like a king. You can have everything you want. Yada, yada, yada.
You're on solo flight like Lopez.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's just so much intriguing stuff with this. So much. And it kind of correlates to what we were talking. Somebody commented earlier about, I think it was Trey, with the medical evidence. There's just so much cover up going on about all this stuff that evidence comes up missing. Evidence that you can't really tell what happened because things start to disappear or get convoluted or get altered for whatever reason. It just becomes a mess to try to figure out. And I don't think we ever will. So with that being said, Joe, I'm going to throw it in your lap.
Oh, no.
And I'm going to ask you whether or not you think Oswald went to Mexico City and why. And why you think what you think. As a conspiracy-oriented JFK researcher.
Can I give percentages?
No. It's a yes or no.
Okay. Well, after analyzing, obviously, Alvarado, who was completely discredited, I don't believe Silvia Duran's testimony can really be credited based on the fact that she was literally under arrest and allegedly tortured. So I kind of discount that. The fact that there are no
What
audio.
about the 80s when she's not being tortured and she's telling the same thing, the same story?
Yeah.
What about in the 70s for the HSCA when she's not being tortured? She tells the same story.
Yeah. I believe the KGB officers, the three of them that were interviewed at the same time, was in the 80s, right? It's hard for me to believe that at this point. Soviet Union is about to fall. The two Scafuza Aussie English lads, or not, it's not laddies, correct me if
Baddie.
I'm baddie laddies. One was a baddie, one had some questionable teeth. Uh, I'm not sure what to.
We do have we do have British listeners.
Well, no, I'm just.
I know.
I'm not saying that all British listeners have bad teeth. I'm saying one of the two, when we watched it on Wednesday, was. But that's not why. Stop distracting me, Rob. You're making me lose my train of thought. You got that guy Bowen, who's an alias with who has another name. I don't know if I believe him. Who's another English guy.
He's allegedly a CIA asset named Albert Osborne.
Right.
But he's an 80-year-old British guy. So
yeah. I was always under the impression that he did go, but he was impersonated as well. Like maybe he didn't do the right thing. Like maybe he didn't run through the right kind of channels or call. So they had to call for him and impersonate him. I was always kind of under that kind of middle ground, if you will. As you know, I love to
then
do.
you would have to explain why they didn't get his impersonator on
Right.
film.
I don't know what to make of Win Scott saying he was, because in his memoirs, I don't know how much you could trust that. The Askew thing, I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna bring a pistol into the Russian embassy and put it on the table doesn't make any sense to me.
You got to remember, his only other option would have been to send both his gun and his rifle back to Dallas with Marina and Ruth.
Right.
And he can't take a rifle with him to Mexico, but he can take a pistol.
Yeah. Marina, I'm glad you brought Marina up. She also said initially, I believe, like close to half a dozen times, that he did not mention anything to Mexico City about her and that he was staying back in New Orleans to look for more work. And we do know they did travel separately.
But later, then she also said that Oswald did tell her that he was going to Mexico.
Right. She did change the story.
The fact that he went to Mexico and gave her the gifts.
Right. But initially, at least 6 times. I think it might have even been 8. But she said no. But again, Marina's Marina. So, and then you have the whole, and we didn't really discuss this, that November 9th letter might not be real. There's some suspicion that it's not real. I don't know.
If it's not real, who wrote it? And how would whoever wrote it know that he had met with the guys at the Russian embassy and call him almost by name, not specifically, but
right, Kostin, not Kostakov, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty lucky guess.
Yeah, it is. But if you're
saying like Ruth wrote the letter or something,
no. But I'm saying if you have the plotters writing the letter, they would know, some details. So if you're gonna make me choose one side or the other, Rob, and again, I have not come to this decision lightly. God damn it. I'm going to say the evidence that supports Lee being in Mexico City is extremely problematic. I think it was meant to frame him to prompt an invasion of Cuba. And I'm going to say no, he was not.
Framed by whom?
Cuban exiles out of JM Wave and
So
New Orleans.
the Cuban exiles framed him in Mexico City.
Yeah. Yeah, I think their intelligent contacts would have known, would have had that, um, the knowledge, not like Bernier, but like people like Emilio Rodriguez, and other people. I think word could have got around, and I think they could have kind of poison pilled the trip, in a sense, knowing that CIA would have needed to cover it up to protect their operations, LI Envoy, LI Feet. So you made me choose. I was going to give an 80% percentage, yes. But you made me choose one way or the other. So that is my thoughts as of now, subject to change. How about you, sir? What do you think what do you think about that?
So Joe is of the belief that Oswald was impersonated in Mexico City. And there are good reasons to believe that, many of which we've talked about in the past 3 shows and all of that good stuff.
Oh man.
And I'm not opposed to the theory. I'm more convinced by the evidence that Oswald was in Mexico City. And the only reason I'm saying this is, like I said, I can't get to the great grand conspiracy of all of these different people from different walks of life admitting to interacting or seeing Oswald in Mexico City. All right. Again, you have so many people claiming to have seen him there, dealt with him there. Yeah, it's a problem we don't have him, on surveillance. But I'm thinking it was covered up in some form or fashion for other reasons that would have led back to something the CIA didn't want to admit that they were doing.
Right.
And in essence, opening a can of worms, if you will. Better to keep the lid on the can of worms than to open it and admit kind of what was going on back then. Because our government was actively trying to fund Cuban exile organizations under the hopes that they would go back and topple Castro out of power eventually. Like I said, there was going to be another Cuban exile invasion of Cuba similar to the Bay of Pigs scheduled for the end of November that never happened. You see how heavily our government was funding these Cuban exile groups to the tune of millions of dollars in today's money every month to multiple, not just to one, but to multiple different Cuban exile organizations. I think that those guys were being steered towards doing something. And I think that some of these Cuban exiles got disenfranchised by the way that our CIA and government operates and how they were being used as tools for our U.S. government to go take out and deal with their own country. I mean, we could have easily penetrated Cuba and toppled Castro anytime we want to, but it would have created an international incident because the Russians are there. And you don't want to start a nuclear war with Russia in 1963, which is the big fear, right? That's the big fear. 40 million Americans dead every minute, or whatever LBJ said. He didn't want that on his conscience.
Right.
Nobody wants that on their conscience.
Right. Said it to Warren and
Yeah, but
Russell. Right.
obviously our government was behind the scenes using different assets from the mafia to try to kill Castro, trying to use Cuban exiles to kill Castro. The problem is they just weren't that well organized. They didn't have the right resources. They just couldn't get the shit off the ground. It's hard to organize a big force, an invasion force, launching from, Guatemala or Nicaragua to Cuba, so it didn't look like they were coming from here. You know what I mean? You can't have them leaving from here.
Right.
Because it still looks like we, ordered them to do it. And organized them and trained them and everything else and sent them to go take care of their own shit in Castro in their country. But back to Mexico City. I think the Odio incident doesn't prove to me one way or the other if that was Lee Harvey Oswald or not. I'm not convinced one way or the other that it was or wasn't him. And I don't really think that it matters too much because I think it happened early enough in the trip that if it was him, he could have still been there and then went to Mexico. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But, again, if he was there, then that puts him in the company of 2 Cuban exiles who were obviously with him on this trip. And he didn't take a bus from New Orleans to Dallas. He probably got driven there. And this leads up to like Hancock and Boylan's theory about how the rifle get to Dallas if it wasn't in Ruth Payne's car, right? So if these guys take Oswald and some of his belongings to Dallas with the idea that he's supposed to get on this bus and go down to Mexico City and do this thing with the embassy, obviously he can't take the rifle with him. So they hang on to it and use it to frame him later. Or it was in Ruth Payne's blanket or Ruth Payne's car, wrapped in a blanket and eventually in her garage. And then he got it later on and took it into the school book depository for whatever reason. Because he didn't purchase it. A.J. Haddell purchased it. A pro-Castro guy. President of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee in New Orleans. That's who bought the rifle. So this whole thing is so just murked up, fucked up. I just think you have to, if Oswald wasn't there, then you have to have him somewhere else. And we have no credible sightings of Oswald anywhere in that time span, other than possibly the Odio thing, which I think is early enough in the timeline to say it really doesn't matter either way. So, based on the weight of actual eyewitnesses and people that dealt with him, allegedly, that are not connected, that have no skin in the game, that have no reason to lie whatsoever, that aren't connected to intelligence community, that had dealings with him in Russia, then I'm going to say, yeah, he was there. But the evidence of it is so screwed up because of our intelligence community wanting to cover their ass about other things, which fucks the evidence all up.
Okay.
Which is why we don't have pictures. Or maybe we did, and when Scott was told him, hey, put them in your fucking safe and don't let them out.
No. And we all know.
Of course, BDI's Angleton figures that he could use them for something, so he's going to get them.
Yeah.
Mr. I'm going to steal your diary, Mary Pinchot Meyer. Miss, I'm going to steal your diary, Miss Marilyn Monroe. Mr. I'm going to get in your safe, Mr. Wynn Scott. And I'm sure they weren't the only ones.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I respect your view a lot. It's.
I'm just telling you how I get there. I just can't. I can't just believe in the great grand conspiracy that all these other people that don't know each other or not connected are just lying about Oswald being there. For what reason?
Right. I mean, you can get 2 hippie broads to lie, and if he was driven there, as you kind of implied that he could have been, then they have to be. in a sense, right?
Well, there's even a document out there that has Oswald crossing the border in a car and not a bus. I don't have it handy, but it does exist.
Right. So is the objective just to confuse?
Like I said, I think the FBI trying to piece together this bus route just fucked everything up because you can't figure it out. It's just a supposition because again, you didn't have to show your ID to get on a fucking bus in '63.
I don't think you have to show an ID to get on a bus now.
Right. He would have only needed his passport to get into Mexico at the border. Nuevo Laredo, from Laredo to Nuevo Laredo. That should be the only thing we're paying attention to. And if we have a border crossing document that says that they check Lee Harvey Oswald passport and let him in the country, then that's all I need. Fuck all the rest of the bus. Fuck the passengers.
Okay.
I mean, why would two chicks lie?
Right. But you also have, and listen, I was going to say 80% not there, 20% there and impersonated as well. But you didn't let me go there. But you also have those authorities kind of on the payroll of American intelligence services as well.
Maybe. You got proof of it?
Maybe. How did they get Silvia Duran arrested the next day? Because the Mexican authorities decided to do so?
Well, no. I mean, I'm saying if you're talking about like the girls on the bus.
Yeah. I mean, they could have been two scafuzas.
Are they secret CIA agents?
No, I think they could have been paid off or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Only one of them testified to the Warren Commission. We went through their testimonies the first time. The point is,
so you're making my argument for me. So they could have been paid off to say that Oswald was on the bus when he really wasn't. Is what you're saying?
I said could be.
Again, this is the great grand conspiracy, Joe.
These are two women that are traveling the country.
Plus, you have the McFarlands. You got these two women. You got the old man. You got the bus driver.
We don't know how scafuzery they were, either.
You got the guy at the hotel. You got six people at the Cuban embassy, 3 people at the Russian embassy.
I agree with that.
Sylvia Duran's buddy Lopez, who says she was at a twist party with him. You got all these. You got Nagell saying he met him in fucking Mexico City. You got Clayton Buick saying he met him in Mexico City.
Okay, those are not two names to bring up.
I'm just saying.
I know.
It's not any crazier than anything else.
No, it's not. That's why this, as we weave back to when we first started last Friday and after Wednesday's members only, it's one of the most suspicious and confusing parts of this very crazy case. And there's a lot of...
And I think it's because of the cover-up that went down to hopefully partially erase that memory of Oswald going to Mexico City and going to the Cuban and Russian embassies.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you whatsoever. I go back and forth very often, but
so if you have the CIA trying to erase it from happening, and you have the FBI trying to prove that it did, and both of them are fabricating and fucking with the evidence, then you got a recipe for disaster, which I think what we have here.
It is definitely a recipe for disaster. So, well, I think
if you wouldn't believe in the John Armstrong theory of Oswald in Mexico and Harvey and Lee, then that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Right.
But it explains a lot of things when you can have 2 Oswalds in 2 places at once.
It would, yeah, for sure. But yeah, do you want to see if we could read a couple comments before we head out here?
Sure.
I've already needed I already have one hand on the damn, you know what? So she doesn't leave. So let me use my left hand here. No passport needed to get into Mexico. Then, yeah, I guess not. Maybe you get back.
I'm pretty sure you needed a passport to get into Mexico then.
Hold on. I'm just gonna hold her. Ruby, let's read some comments.
Or else he wouldn't have got one in June.
Scott Edwards, you don't need a grand conspiracy. Many people in New Orleans and elsewhere said they saw and interacted with Oswald in situations that were unlikely. I think there's like 3 or 4 sightings of Oswald in Dallas among
And they're
that
not
time.
good ones.
But right, but
I
I
put
mean,
more weight between the people in Mexico City that say they saw him and interacted with him rather than some jack off at a gas station say he saw Oswald put gas in his car when he didn't fucking have one and he didn't drive.
Let's see. Oswald didn't twist, and he certainly didn't have sexual relations with that woman, which is, of course, a Clinton quote.
Maybe he wouldn't get any from Marina. I mean, his marriage is on the rocks. I'm sure he wouldn't turn it. I mean, you're in another country. That's like being in a different area code around here.
Yeah, I mean,
all's fair. All's fair.
No war with Iran. I like your name. And yeah, I mean, we obviously know his relationship with Judy Baker.
Yeah.
They needed Mexico City to frame Oswald as a Marxist so that they could make the case that he was acting with the encouragement of the Cubans and Russians. But Oswald was never a Marxist.
Well, Oswald was framing himself in New Orleans before he even went to Mexico City. So they didn't need him to go to Mexico to frame him as a Marxist. Mm-hmm. He was doing that just fine himself here in the United States.
Saleh, I think he won that, Rob. Well, it's not about winning or losing. Everyone's going to have their own.
I'm just telling you why I think the way I do. I'm not saying
right.
I'm right and he's wrong or
yeah.
he's right and I'm wrong. I'm just saying this is how I get to my conclusion.
Yeah.
It's based on a preponderance of not just one thing, but a lot of different things.
Right. And I'm going off the fact of after reviewing a ton of these witness statements of people in Mexico City or people on the bus, a lot of them are problematic to me. And it seems like they were trying to fit the story together, and whether that was because of trying to, conceal some intelligence activities, I 100% respect and can see that option as well. So, I mean, he just made me pick a side. So,
and whether he did go or he didn't go, and whether he did do what he's accused of doing there, or he didn't, it's when you're talking about. I think it doesn't make me a lone nutter to think Oswald went to Mexico, right?
No.
I mean, it fits perfectly in the pattern and the trajectory he was on himself, in doing what he was doing, writing letters, trying to go back to Russia. They won't let him back in. He gets desperate. He starts ramping up the pro-Castro bullshit in New Orleans, to make himself look better, to get newspaper articles written about him, to get on the radio, right? To prove that he's a Castro supporter, try to get to Cuba, to get to Russia.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing left for him here in America. He's a nobody here. He makes shit money. They got nothing. They don't have a pot to piss in.
No.
Marina treats him like shit.
He's eating lunch with the black guys in the domino room.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
Well, in 1963, maybe.
I'd rather eat lunch with the black guys in the domino room than by myself in the basement. Fraser.
Oh, all right. Well, I thought that was a good back and forth.
I'm not done with my point here yet, Joe.
Okay, sorry.
I think the problem with this whole thing is people get caught up in the idea of a conspiracy. Most people, including myself, think that there was a conspiracy abound here to kill Kennedy. Okay? But everything in this case is not a conspiracy. Everything is not lies. Everything is not cover up. Right? But some things are. Some things you can make a good case that they are, for sure. But everything, every little aspect does not have to have a conspiratorial bent to it.
Does not have to be fake.
Right. Things can be true about Oswald, and you can still not put him on the 6th floor at 12:30 shooting the president. Right? But it's hard to deny. You can think that Oswald was being sheep dipped because this is what makes sense in from the conspiratorial set of mindset. But if you actually look at Oswald's life, just like when I was telling somebody, I think I was telling Doug, I was like, God damn it, Larry Hancock's going to turn me into a fucking lone nutter. Right? Because the whole point of the Oswald puzzle, their book, and they make a damn good case for it, is that Oswald was, in fact, a fucking Marxist. And that he wasn't being set up by the intelligence community in that instance, to make him look a certain way. He was doing just fine making his own self look a certain way. Like, they didn't need to step in and do anything different. Right? Because at that point, he's just doing it. Because this is what he believes. And if he's been enamored by the Marxist theorism since he was 15 and he got this pamphlet on the Rosenbergs or whatever started all this shit, I mean, you have to account for everything in his life. People calling him, Oswaldovich in the Marines, and this, that, and the other, him defecting, either. And of course, it gets obfuscated because we know that we were sending false defectors into Russia. But then if you have one guy who literally believes in communism and wants to go live there, well, then he automatically must be ran by the CIA in a defector program, right? But we have no fucking proof of that whatsoever. We have no documentation, no proof whatsoever that Oswald was in a false defector program. Period. The Russians didn't treat him, any different one way or the other. They didn't think that he was.
Right. They wanted to get him out of Moscow.
Yeah, they really felt no way about him whatsoever. Like he was no threat, basically.
He was a scafusa.
That's why they let him stay there so long. Right? This guy's a dumbass. Okay, well, we can let the dumbass live here in fucking Minsk with that whore Marina, and get honeypotted for whoever she's working for, the CCP, the Communist Party of Russia. But, not the KGB, which is what the guys, or at least Oleg Nechapenko said, that she was working for the CCCP, the Communist Party of Russia, which is different than the KGB. They're a different kind of intelligence organization back then. So, yeah, Jack, there was Operation Redskin, but we have zero proof that Oswald was ever a part of any of that. And I do believe that the CIA was keeping tabs on him because he did defect to Russia. So surely his name would have been put on some kind of a watch list. They would have checked him out, seen what his background was, wonder what the fuck is this guy doing, and see, for some reason he's enamored with Marxism. So he wants to go over there to live. So, all right, well, fuck him. Let him go live there then. Or we can talk to him if he ever comes back, see what's going on. But other than that, whatever. Because we have no proof whatsoever that Oswald told the Russians anything about anything.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, everything, even if you believe there was conspiracy, everything inside the conspiracy doesn't have to be a conspiracy. Because you start looking at all of this through rose-colored glasses, which tints everything that you're seeing and everything must be a conspiracy. Like somebody must be running Oswald, or he's some super secret, CIA agent who's really not a Marxist. He's really a great American, and he's just acting like this for some reason. What's the reason? I don't know. I don't have a good reason why he would do that. And we have no proof whatsoever that he was an FBI agent or working for the FBI as an informant. There's allegations, sure. There's allegations for a lot of people. Does talking to somebody who works at the FBI make you an informant?
No.
I mean, he asked to talk to him in jail.
Right.
They talked to him when he got back. They obviously going to check on him because he brings a Russian wife back here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the FBI is going to keep tabs on him. They're going to stop him and talk to him in the car. They're going to come to his house.
Yeah, and I believe it's Larry's stance that he believes he was considered to be an informant. Like he was put on, because it is an FBI agent's duty to recruit a certain number of informants every month. So, but does that make him an actual informant? I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like Tiny says here, the Marine Corps so soft-hearted they funded him and gave him a compassionate early discharge and funded his Marxist fantasy. Yeah, and then bend him over the table and change it to an dishonorable discharge, which screws up his health insurance and his pension.
Right. Which, of course, he was very upset about, and then that's how you get to the Dean Andrews situation, and you know what I mean? It's murky, man. It's murky. I just found, as we went through a lot of these people's statements, and I totally agree with you, to have these number of people all in on the conspiracy per se, but also they could be all in on the cover your ass mode conspiracy in terms of like the KGB people or the Cuban embassy people. And obviously Alvarado was full of shit, so who the hell knows? Not to land on the fence, because you made me not land on one, but fascinating aspect of the case, right, Rob? Fascinating.
Yeah. At the end of the day, who knows? I'm just telling you how I got to where I got. Joe's telling you where he got to how he got. Mm-hmm. Everybody's on a different journey of this stuff. I mean, you look at somebody like Larry, who's been in this way longer than us, and looked at this 20 Ways from Sunday, talked to brilliant people, interviewed brilliant people, written books about this stuff, studied I don't know how many documents. And the longer he gets into this, the more it makes sense to him what he believes. And this is why a lot of people don't like Larry Hancock's new book. Mm-hmm. But again, just because you believe that if Oswald was a true Marxist and a true Castro supporter, it still doesn't change the fact that there probably was a conspiracy and he probably was a patsy. Right. In the assassination of Kennedy. Right. He was just a very specific set of tools that could be compromised and used because he painted himself in a certain light and he had a certain pedigree. He has a Russian wife. He did defect to Russia. You know what I mean? He left the Marines to defect to Russia, to marry a Russian wife, to move back here, be disillusioned with Russia, be disillusioned when he moves back here. He's got an overbearing mother. His brothers aren't around but then to help him out. His family in New Orleans, the Moretts, are probably sick of fucking helping him out. You only got so many more doors to turn to.
Yeah, Russians are probably sick of him writing to him. Marine is sick of him.
The Texas Employment Commission is probably tired of seeing him and
Oh,
paying him.
for sure. Yeah, I think Oswald
I'm just
definitely
saying you can see where a guy like that,
put himself in that situation.
it's a very rapid downfall from August to November, right?
August 63 at Riley's, you mean?
No, he wasn't at Riley's in August.
Oh, are you talking August 62 at
No,
Jaggers?
63.
Okay.
He didn't have a job
Okay.
in August of 63. He's doing the Fair Play for Cuba thing. He's getting in a fight with Bernier. He's writing Fair Play for Cuba. He's going on the radio. He's building up his legend, his pro-Castro legend in August,
Yeah.
right? And he takes all that shit to Mexico City and puts it in front of Silvia Duran and says, look at all of this.
Mhm.
He even says he brought it there. How the fuck would she know he even had it?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
whether you like it or not, there is a picture of Oswald on the fucking Cuban visa application. Where did they come up with that?
Yeah. It's not like there's a iPhone where you could just kind of Google Oswald, you know, revolutionary and come up with.
And it's not an old picture. It's a picture that is nowhere else other than on that Cuban visa application because he had to leave the consulate and go down to the drugstore and have his picture taken for that express purpose and bring it back. So that photo is no other, with his sweater vest and his tie. It's nowhere else. So it wasn't like they used an old photo or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's fascinating for sure.
It's a rabbit hole, folks.
It is.
It's a rabbit hole.
One of many.
A deep one.
Was he even in Clinton? What was he doing there? Was he building his legend as well?
Or did he just have nothing better to do because he wasn't working? And he's hanging out with his buddy Dave Ferry. Who knows? I mean, I think Oswald was used by a lot of different people.
Yes, I 100%.
He was used by Bannister, used by Ferry in New Orleans for their own purposes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They knew what he was, and they used him effectively in their purpose. I think the Cuban exiles used him.
Yeah.
To support what they were trying to do. They might have even set him up and been behind this whole thing. Which is, I think, kind of where Hancock and Boylan are going. They haven't even got to Dallas yet in their narrative. So when they do, I think, and I'm hoping that there'll be a lot more revelations to come out.
I hope so. If I could ever get to the archives, get some access, maybe there will be. Not saying I'm going
Well,
to
if you
sell
follow
it.
the directions and actually put the box numbers on the application, it might help.
We did. Just
You didn't for the Martinses.
not for the Martinses, but for everything else.
Right.
So they denied me based on 2 out of the 7 requests I made. But they make it difficult by design. But we'll get there. I'm gonna work on it this weekend. And yeah, man, fascinating show.
Stay tuned for Joe's exploits from the Nara parking lot with Paul Blow and a rented Toyota Corolla. As they take turns holding their dicks in their hands and feeding the birds in the parking lot while the 2 lawyers are in there doing their due diligence.
Well, Mark hasn't even heard back
and
yet.
demanding final reports.
It's such a mess, the archives. But I did grab the damn dog earlier for a little bit. I don't know if I'll be able to get her.
It's all right. We'll let her go this time. Ruby.
I got her.
for the record, but, he said, come to Bourbon
There
Street
she
and
is.
I'll show you what I think of the case.
Hey, Ruby.
Hi, Ruby. We're so sorry you can't hear him.
Oh, she can hear me. She has better hearing than you do.
That is true.
I'm going to get a dog whistle, and we'll try that next time. Thank you, folks. Thank you for the super chats, Mike and Brandon. I saw Mama B was in the house earlier. Welcome in, Mama B.
Lies are told in the
And
name of
have a
truth.
good evening,
The
Mama
greatest
B.
crimes are committed in the name of justice. The quotation is Jim Garrison's.
Tiny,
It could be
Sally,
used
South to
for him
West.
or against
Sally,
him
I
in this
love ya.
strange case.
Yeah,
Good night.
thanks for hanging out with us and putting up with our spifoosery.
Yes.
Try to give you both sides of the argument.
Yep. Hit the like.
Smash the like button on your way out the door.
Please.
We'd appreciate it. And subscribe if you're not subscribed, damn it.
Ruby would
2,500 by the end of the year. That'd be nice.
Ruby would appreciate it too. Right, Ruby?
Yes. You need to work on her
Her posture.
her sad face. You know, like one of those commercials for, you know, the animals that need food.
The ones I cry at.
Yeah, they're all ate up and limping around and shit.
Yeah. I'll work on it, Rob. I'll work on it.
All right. All right, folks.
Thank you, everyone.
For us and
for Lone Nutter Rob.
Yeah, and conspiracy theorist Joe. That's it for us, and we'll see you hopefully, or me, for a book review in between the next members only show. Allegedly. Yeah, unless Joe's too busy. You never know.
You never know.
He's got to redo his whole application for NAR.
That is true.
All right, folks, that's it for us. Have a great Friday evening, great weekend. Thank you again for the super chats and supporting the show. We love you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Oh, and a new episode of Rambling Research with Random Research Ramblings with Rob will be out Monday morning. Have a great weekend.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, that's what she said. Peace. Later.